July the 8th, 2011. Imagine with me that we are on the coast of Florida, hot and humid, cloudless blue sky, lemon yellow sun. The Space Shuttle Atlantis sits on launch pad 39A, resting in the final moments of calm before launch. Imagine yourself in the cockpit commander of the last mission of the shuttle program. This moment is the culmination of years of hard work by you and your crew, but beyond the surface level, you are also riding the waves of history. To find yourself alive in this time and place, as we find ourselves here this morning at the sunset of the Space Shuttle program, which has defined the space exploration realm since we have been alive, it is only fitting that we draw a parallel to our own story here today. T-minus 2 minutes. Where does this moment draw its roots? Do we begin with the Apollo program, the Wright brothers? Could we, after all, send objects into orbit without the work of Kepler and Newton? We know with firm conviction that the planets orbit the sun in giant elliptical patterns. We know the strength of gravity on Mars well enough to land a robot on Mars without having ever been there. We need to remember that the state of modern engineering is not a privilege earned by us, but it has evolved from the very foundation of knowledge. Where we stand today is the next step in the path blazed by the librarians of Alexandria, by Pythagoras, by Newton. T-minus 1 minute. Our department was founded in 1929, 2 years after Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic. It's worth noting that it wasn't until 1961, 50 years ago, that Astronautics was added to our department's name. That year, the United States sent Alan Shepard into space as our first astronaut. 50 years before that, in 1911, the first airplane flight was as recent as the flight of Spaceship One is today. Now take one step further into history, 50 years prior, 1861. Chief Seattle, the man after whom this city is named, was still alive and well. And the University of Washington operated out of log cabins in the forest outside of town. In 3 short 50-year periods, we have jumped from the beginning of our city to developing hardware for space exploration. This progression is astoundingly rapid, and today we join the proud legacy contributed by our department. T-minus 30 seconds. Some 20 years ago, our generation entered the picture. Many of us were born at the twilight of the Cold War, after the loss of the Shuttle Challenger, at the dawn of the Internet. Among the many lessons picked up in our early years, we learned some things about aerospace. We were presented with a world where humans had walked on the moon, but no longer did so. We learned of the early years of flight, Lucky Lindy crossing the Atlantic, Charles Yeager toppling the sound barrier, the transition to jet airliners. Yet we grew up in an era of routine air travel, where innovation was measured in 1% efficiency gains rather than great leaps forward. T-minus 10 seconds. Back at the launch pad in Florida, sparks are flying underneath the 3 main engines. My fellow graduates and everyone in the audience, let's pause for a moment to ask an important question. At what point did your current path begin? When I was in 4th grade, I was terrified of flying. I remember riding an Alaska Airlines jet through the mountain waves of Southern California, a great turbulent air mass like the rapids of a river. The airplane jolted and heaved through the waves and my palms were drenched. But from that day on, whenever an airplane flew overhead, I looked up. Or perhaps it was the night in middle school when I laid on my back looking at the stars and realized, like a punch in the gut, the immensity of space. Each step from there to here can be traced. Remember from time to time to tell yourself your own story, specifically and honestly. It will illuminate where you are and where you are going. T-minus 9, 8, 7. Having learned the fundamentals of math and science, we came together 2 years ago to learn to think like engineers. At the end of the day, engineers are trained to ask just 2 questions: how and what if. We learn to make things happen, to take an idea from a single thought in the human brain, to a vibrating, roaring, powerful, and real collection of materials and systems. We learn to use math and science to solve real-world problems. By the nature of this task, it is not easy. The late-night perplexing homework, difficult projects, and short deadlines make us acutely tied to our department building. More importantly, it establishes a bond between classmates that is rare and perhaps unique at the University of Washington. T-minus 6, 5, 4. As launchineers, your heart rate rises, valves opening and closing faster and faster. Deep in the bowels of Atlantis, a series of mechanical valves snaps open, allowing liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen stored in the external orange tank to mix. Main engine ignition, the shuttle sways. Our graduates came together in this department 2 years ago from a stunning variety of backgrounds. Each story is unique, full of challenges and triumphs, successes and failures. Each of us was the product of family, education, and environment. Here we converged, and from here we will again diverge. But the bonds we have established in these 2 short years will be remembered for a lifetime. The memories are good and bad, but each moment led to the next. We cannot know which decision, which homework problem, or which relationship from our time here will blossom into the next great leap in aerospace. We leave our time here with a better understanding of ourselves and this profession. A collective thanks is in order for all those who made it possible. Our families, professors, past and present, technical staff and administrators, childhood teachers, friends, mentors, bosses, and partners. Mom and Dad, thank you for raising me with the freedom to pursue my dreams. I love you both dearly. T-minus 3, 2. 66 years brought us from the gritty, blowing sands of Kitty Hawk to the fine-grained dust on the surface of the moon. The moral, of course, is that we cannot hope to predict our own futures. We are in a unique position to affect the course of technology and society moving forward, depending only on our own will and gumption. John F. Kennedy famously stated that we choose to go to the moon and other such challenges not because they are easy, but because they are hard. His brother Robert said something similar, but perhaps more relevant for us today. The future is not a gift, but an accomplishment. T-minus 1 second. The 2 solid rocket boosters strapped to the outside of the shuttle roar to life. In the cockpit, the noise and vibration is immense as the vehicle strains against 7 million pounds of thrust. You, high above the launch pad in the cockpit, are ready to experience the ride of a lifetime. Rest your head against the back of your spacesuit, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and raise your thoughts to the stars. It has been an honor and a privilege studying with you as classmates, colleagues, and friends. Our future is not a gift, but an accomplishment. Congratulations, and good luck.